Welcome to the Creativity Theory Podcast. I am your host, Cameron Smith, and today my guest is Cameron Smith. Podcast, always we start off with an ad, so today's ad, we'll just get into that. This episode of the Creativity Theory Podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. Are you experiencing split personality disorder? Have you become discombobulated with your sense of self and you don't know who's who or what's what? And it's almost as if you're having an outer body experience and there's one part of you that's self-sabotaging, but then there's another part of you who's like a really chill, cool guy and like trying to get things done, but the self-sabotaging part of you is making you a stupid, fucking worthless loser. BetterHelp. Sign up today on the app store. Sick ad, dude. Come on, dude. No, I mean, that was really funny. I really liked that. How was your experience in therapy? Dude, I'm too high for that. What the fuck? Right out the gate with that? How is therapy for you? Well, I feel like we've talked about this on this show a number of times, so I'll try to give it justice and say something unique about it this time. Well, I went to therapy. It was a thing I considered for a really long time. And I kept thinking of reasons to not do it. And for the longest time, and I felt like it was kind of like a thing where I feel like if I pull the lever and I try to use that thing to be the thing I'm depending on to make me right or like fix me, I'll lose any sense that I have control over that destiny. Yeah. Like I think I'll put all that pressure on that particular process of therapy. That was like how it was in my head. And then I finally contextualized it to a point where it was like, no, I can still completely I feel confident that I can rely on myself, that I'm very independent. And I feel like I am on a self-betterment journey myself right now. And I'm doing it alone, without professional help. I could get the professional help and it would be like an extra gear. It would be an extra mind who's being paid to be an extra separate human attention on this same problem and giving me some outsider advice. That seems like that could be useful to the whole gestalt, essentially. Do you see each guest on your podcast as like an extra gear in that? That's a good question. I feel like maybe every conversation entirely, but certainly every deep conversation. I feel like when you engage with people on a deep level socially and you start to talk about some of these things that maybe are typically private thoughts, but then you start sharing these deeper layers of things that you thought maybe you were weird in, and then hearing other people relate to it, or comparing yourself and going, okay, no, that is like a weird thing about me. I don't know. I mean, there is definitely an element of furthering self-actualization just through, doing anything, but particularly with connecting with other people. Does that answer the question, or was that? Yeah. I feel really like self-conscious about my answers because I'm incredibly high right now.
You're good, brother.
I wish I didn't smoke, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, this is the last time.
Well,
I guess what I wanted to ask is, what did you, well, like, do you feel like you're getting what you wanted out of this podcast? Like, what did you want to get out of making this podcast? What did I want to get out of this podcast? Well, like, you know, creativity theory I get, but how did a podcast, like a long form interview style podcast, stem from that idea? And, you know, what did you want to get out of it? You know, where did I visualize this? Like, what was my vision for it? No, like, what did you want to get out of it? I don't think I had a clear what did I want to get out of it going into it. I think I just had this like strong intuition to just do it and that I would find out the value. And I feel like I hypothesize certain values, and some of those things I feel are true, wound up being true. And then I found, as I did it, that other things were true that I could not have foreseen. And they were new, like, oh, wow, like, that's an interesting element of this. I know this is all very abstract sort of answer, but do you understand what I'm saying? No. Oh my God, my heart is racing, dude. I might be having a panic attack right now. Oh, fuck, I gotta get this cup off there. We don't like having the cup on the table, do we? No. Because it's so big and distracting, dude. Everyone will just be focused on the Yeti if you have that sucker plopped up here. Let me ask you a question. Okay. Do you think I'm funny? Like, do you genuinely think I'm funny? Yeah, I think you're funny. Sick. I mean, I think we definitely have very different senses of humor. What do you mean by that? I think, well, okay, and this is more of a commentary on your stand-up rather than the podcast, because, I mean, the only funny part of the podcast is just the ads at the beginning, and then after that, it's just straight, you know? Well, think about how funny it would be if, like, the thing about this podcast was, I only watch it for the ads. Yeah, I mean, I only watch the ads and then done, you know? Yeah. It's an excellent 2-minute podcast. Yeah. Well, to go back to the question about your ideation of the podcast, like, you know, what was the point? What was the point of the podcast? I think maybe the nugget that I think settled on is like the deepest thing is that a lot of the thoughts that I am sharing in these conversations are like some of the first time I'm getting to say it out loud in front of another person, and not just another person, but in front of another person while it's being recorded and anyone can watch it. So like all that pressure is understood going into the conversation, and it's like, what do I say under those circumstances? How do I interact? And just in the editing process of like having to watch it back, there is some sort of unconscious process that's just intuitive and it's rapid of judging yourself, whether it's a conscious judgment or an unconscious judgment, judging yourself, saying, I don't like that. Here's what would be better, corrective behavior, like just constantly remapping of like, okay, I don't like that you do that. Stop doing that. Start doing this. And being able to have that constant feedback of yourself in that context, just the unconscious processing of having to watch that back and go through that process of judgment and thinking how you could have been better. I think that has helped me become a lot better at socializing now than I was before I started doing the podcast. Because before starting doing the podcast, I felt like I was becoming extremely antisocial. And I still feel like I'm shedding this version of me that I built by accident that is just happens to be a major feature of his character is he's developed a pretty severe antisocial disorder, maybe. I don't know. I haven't been, clinically diagnosed with anything, but speculating seems like that would be a fitting diagnosis. If you were to hold a gun to my head and tell me I had to give myself some sort of clinical diagnosis. Some sort of whatever kind of disorder I just said. I've already forgot it. I'm so high, dude. I bet some therapists might say I have psychopathic tendencies.
How does that feel?
No one said that to me, but that's just, again, that's my guess. How does that feel?
Yeah, how does it feel to think that?
On one hand, well, I feel like it's kind of like, if that's true, I should be aware of that, and I should do what I can about that. If it's changeable, then maybe I should change it. If it's not changeable, then maybe I can figure out a way to integrate it to where I'm not violating my own moral code. But like, what do I mean by my own moral code? That's the thing, is kind of we all are responsible for figuring out what that is. And so a true psychopath, like if my psychopathy transcended the part of me that feels like a good person that can override that part of me, if I feel like that guy, that's the real me, and that's the one who controls and makes the final decisions, then no problem. But then I'm not sure if it works like that. It's nice to believe it does and that you can.
Well, the good news is I think you're a funny guy.
Oh, thanks, dude. I think you're funny too.
Thanks.
I mean, I think I'm funnier.
Yeah, you're probably right.
You know what? I bet if you kept going at it from how you like to live your life, I bet if you were to keep going at it with the same love that I have for it, if you can learn to find it the way that you are. Honestly, you might be funnier than me. I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it.
I don't know if you're talking to me or you.
I'm talking to me. I guess I'm talking to us,
This is fucking weird, dude.
This is wild as fuck.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I got one. At 60 years old, what does your life look like? Like, how are you spending your time? How are you helping people? How are you benefiting your community?
Ooh, that's a good one. How am I helping people? Well, I feel like when I'm doing what I love to do right, which I don't always do it right, and sometimes I lose sight of what doing it right means, and maybe I haven't really defined what is right enough for me to hit that target more consistently. Anyway, I feel like that's part of just getting better at it.
Yeah.
I'm going on. Total, right. Dude, I'm high. Come on. Don't ever forget that.
Trust me, I know.
A little too high. So I'm sorry if this interview sucks. If you need to delete this episode, totally understand. I won't be upset with you. Okay, I guess it's a little water break. I'll have some too.
Nice cup.
Thanks, brother.
You're welcome.
Dude, this is going to be so good. No, it's not. What do you think people are going to think when they watch this?
I don't fucking know.
As far as this interview goes, do you think I'm doing a bad job so far?
Are you doing a bad job?
Damn, you're really thinking about this, brother.
Yeah, I'm deliberating. No, you're good, man. You're doing all right. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely the worst guess I've ever had. That's for sure.
Dude, if I'm doing bad, I want to hear it.
I mean, like, what even would be a bad job? I mean, maybe like the overthinking. You keep asking if you're doing a bad job. That might be a problem.
That is true. We have been getting real self-conscious on this thing. The last several episodes, the self-consciousness is a little much.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it's a little over the top.
Sorry we went on that tangent.
It's okay.
60 years old.
Like, what are you doing?
What do you want?
Yeah, like, where do you see yourself?
At that point in my life, I hope that I have made it, quote unquote, in some way to where I feel like I reached something acclimating my highest potential. I would be some sort of celebrity. And I hope that the peak of my career is like in my 30s and 40s. And then I hope after my 40s and during that period, I'm doing stand-up, I'm making music, and I'm making films or some sort of television. Something along the lines of those three things, mainly. And once I go through the peak, maybe like my 40s are a little more dedicated to filmmaking, and my 50s and 60s on are probably a little more dedicated to stand-up. Yeah. But I may change course. That's just my current guess at if things went exactly the way I wanted them to go. That's my vision.
Do you imagine having a family?
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay, so I can imagine two versions. I can imagine one where a family is part of that, and I can imagine a version where it is not. Yeah.
And you thought this podcast would take you a step in that direction?
Yeah. If not because the podcast itself became significantly popular, but it's the effect of doing the podcast would make me a significant amount better than had I not done it. Yeah. I think there's some valuable form of growth to be had in doing something like this that would serve me well if I were to continue on a path that is aimed at what I described to you as my 60-year vision.
With the amount of content there is out there, where do you find any sense of confidence that you producing long-form content is going to be worth people giving their time and attention to?
Well, I think that my approach to anything that I'm doing, which I will admit that the past few years have been really questioning this and like really saying like, we ought to integrate a few more values that are a little more oriented towards being entrepreneurial about this endeavor rather than just purely artistic. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel bad about this. I forgot the initial question.
Just talking about the amount of content now.
Oh, how do I get the stuff to stand out? Got it. So,
well, not necessarily to stand out, but just like the confidence in you to get you to keep going in terms of, you know, this is me talking right now and it's 2-3 hours and it's worth you giving yourself to this. Like, where does that come from?
Yeah. Well, okay. So where I was going with that original thing was, there's There's a book by Steve Martin, Born Standing Up, and I butchered this quote, but he says something along the lines of like, be so good that they can't ignore you. And so I think that that's my like main, from the artistic angle, the main thesis is just like, I'm going to do to the best of my ability as the creative director of the fucking world I live in, I guess, is how, God damn it, dude. I lost the thought. I am so sorry. This is embarrassing. This is why I can't get high anymore. You know, this is the only time I've done a podcast high in like almost 10 years.
Wow, that's so interesting.
This is why I don't do it, I guess.
No one's watching this anyway.
I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to dodge this question, I promise.
It's okay, dude.
Do you remember anything about what I was saying?
The question was about producing content, long form content that you put out.
How do I convince people that giving their time is worth it? Yeah, I think it's the best I can do is what I'm doing. I think. I think. You know, and that what I mean, not necessarily directly.
No, that's actually kind of beautiful. I like the simplicity of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I am genuinely trying my best. And like, there's things that I have to learn. And there's things maybe you're trying to tell me that haven't gotten through my thick skull yet. But like, the only way it's going to get through is when it gets through, baby. Like, I don't know how much control I have over it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say that this is the last time I'm smoking weed. You know? I don't know if I mean that. I hope I do. I hope I do.
Well, you've set up a system to allow yourself to do it again.
Mm-hmm. You want to get into this? You want to talk about the CP system?
Do you? I'd kind of like to finish one thread before we move on to that.
Sure.
We'll get back to that later. We were talking about your stand-up earlier instead of the podcast.
Yeah.
I listened to your stand-up and I didn't like it. And then I listened to your podcast and I did like it. What's that about?
So wait, you didn't like my comedy, but then you found the podcast and you liked that, and then you liked the comedy.
No, I understood the comedy. I didn't like it.
Okay, but you still didn't like it.
And I may not even understand it still.
Okay, that's a good... What do you not understand about it?
Well, like, you know, from listening to the podcast, I feel like I understand where you're coming from a little bit better, but like your sense of humor is it's kind of twisted. And
yeah,
I feel like by definition that makes it so most people don't understand it.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I understand humor like that, but there's also a piece of it that I don't understand, and that's just like, why? Like, I see you do stand up, and so often I'm just like, why?
Okay, so this is a philosophical debate that goes on in my head constantly about the relationship between truth and humor. So something I've gotten in the habit of saying, because I feel intuitively like this is true, is that humor is the shadow of truth. So there's some overlap between these two things. There's definitely true things that are funny, but there's a lot of things that are not true, that are hilarious. And sometimes if it's like aggressively untrue, so inappropriately untrue, it's like gut reaction of like, I just didn't see that coming. That was just so abrupt. That was so much really painfully aggressive execution of it too. There's something about going really hard in that direction that gets that reaction out of me, and I know other people, not everyone. And part of I think that depth of a laugh, because I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but I separate different kinds of laughter. Like there's the mouth laughter. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, obviously.
So it's just when you go deep down in there. That's what I'm after. And I think that the further you go, there's certain people that just don't want to go that deep. And I think that there's some sort of correlation of humor being the shadow of truth. There's something a little immoral about that too. Because another definition I've heard from a lot of philosophical discussion is thinking of the word truth rather than like objective scientific terms strictly. Because a lot of people kind of think that's all there is, that's truth. But truth as in more of like a metaphorical definition, and a definition that's like that which is more useful. And that's a, reality warping way of thinking about it, I think. Where like, nope, I went too deep. Nope.
I mean, honestly, it sounds like from a certain perspective, like I understand your perspective and that sounds great, but I think from a lot of people's perspective, it can seem more like you're just looking for an excuse to go on stage and say fucked up shit.
Yes. And I think that there is a balance in the acting element that has to be played. And I think sometimes I pull it off well, and sometimes I'm not pulling it off quite right. There's a few reasons why I'm so inconsistent in terms of like me being consistently doing it right and like just crushing every 4 minutes I do, being a master at it. Most comedians that get to that level of mastery where they're just so fucking great at crushing it pretty consistently, the kind of given process is you got to repeat the shit out of your material. You got to just keep doing it. Same shit. Polish your shit. Know every fucking word.
And you don't do that.
No, I repeat my material very little, and I'm constantly trying new shit. And
like the idea of you writing a poem every day versus you spending 90 days on one poem.
Yeah. And that's just what I'm doing in this particular era of the past few years. I've had different eras where I put a little more thought and I do actually repeat my material a little more and I polish it up, but to the degree which I do that. So I can create a certain amount of consistency the more I go in that direction. But right now, I'm not doing showcases. I'm just doing open mics. And to me, I feel like doing an open mic and treating it like a showcase and making sure you're just doing polished material that you already know works is a waste of an open mic. And that's from a working on the craft and sharpening my sword perspective rather than like, this is me doing the thing. I'm a professional and I got to be A game every time. This is like, no, I got to like experiment and fucking fall flat on my fucking face and get real good at failing. I gotta get real good at like being able to, on a fucking whim, make up. And definitely, my growth has been a lot slower than most comedians that just take the time to polish material and rotate more slowly and be more consistent. I'm taking a harder, longer path because maybe stubbornness, but it's what I intuitively feel like is the better thing for me to do. The thing that interests me the most, maybe.
So, how do you want people to view you as a comedian on stage?
So, I think this was a thought I was starting earlier, and I maybe lost my train of thought, but there's some element of a lot of the gut laughter, especially in the context of a comedy club or like you're in a audience in a comedy show, is if you are someone that gets it and you like it, it's like maybe you can get it and not like it, and that's perfectly reasonable. And maybe you can just not get it and that's why you don't like it. Or maybe you get it and you like it. And I think the people that get it and like it when they hear that material, they're laughing at the material, probably less because the material itself, like, oh, that's brilliant. It's like, we're laughing at this guy, like kind of socially crucifying himself. Why would anyone say this publicly? Like that's why the laugh, it's less about like what I'm saying, but the experience I'm creating in the room by like saying what I'm saying. And I think the acting element that I'm aiming to pull off is a certain kind of confidence that goes with that just makes the 4-minute performance absurd.
And it's like you're sacrificing a part of you for that.
Yes. Yeah, there is definitely a some sort of like psychological and emotional pain that can be inflicted when I fail, more so than if I were to try to aim to be a little less offensive and a little more tame, like concern myself with that kind of thing, and focus on material that just doesn't go to those like uncomfortable, dark places that can polarize a room in such a way. I feel like that wouldn't be as fun for me.
So how does it feel having people out there that genuinely think you, Cameron Smith, as a person, are who you present yourself as on stage? Like racist, sexist, all of it.
Honestly, dude, I just feel like I don't care. Like, people are going to have positive opinions and negative opinions of you no matter what. And I kind of don't care what the details of that is. It's just it's a binary yes or no. Does this person hate me or do they love me? And it's just like, that's going to happen no matter what I do. And to me, I think that when some of that material that would make someone who's misreading the context of the fact that this is a comedy performance, and maybe isn't as psychologically immersed in like the philosophy around that particular art form of creating comedy. Like most people aren't that. And I feel like that's why I'm never upset with audience members who hate my guts because they don't get it. Right? They're not able to contextualize. He can play a racist in the context of this art form and still not be one. Rather than like, that material is racist, he must genuinely be racist. That's their burden to carry. I don't feel like that's on me. You know, if they want to write me off over that, that's fine. I'm at peace with it. I feel like if I were in their shoes, no matter what, I would think, okay, maybe I don't find this material funny, and this person is not funny. But then, what are they like off stage? I think would be my question.
And it seems like the podcast is a good answer to that question.
I agree. And I think that's one of those, like, in hindsight benefits I think I realized maybe right before I started doing it, but maybe a little more so as I was doing it, especially, well, this is going to be a mind fuck because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was just, I talk about that pattern a lot of people writing me off at one point because they've seen my art and made a judgment about me. They're like, I don't like that guy, you know? And then later, through whatever various circumstances, they get a glimpse into who I am off stage and it makes them change their mind. And having these moments like that repeat with people that are great friends of mine, you know, over time. So some of my greatest friends are the people that I've had like that moment with. And I don't know. To me, I feel like I have my world of, there is the art. My number one thing is I'm creating the art I want to create. And then the social circle that ensues as a result of that, I'm at peace with. I love those people. Let's see who it attracts and who it fucking gets away from me. And I think maybe I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I feel the same way about like romance. Like, I know I am a fucking fucked up, weird shaped key. And that when I was talking about I could go on two paths and a version of my life where I have a family and a version of my life where I don't, I honestly don't know which of those paths I want more. I think I want the family. I think I would choose the family, but only if I meet the right person. And so I feel like I try to be extremely upfront with the fact that I'm a relatively difficult person to digest.
You'd be a wild dad, too.
Yeah, perhaps.
In a good way.
Yeah. My dad was a wild dad. Our dad.
Thirsty boy.
God rest your soul, Marion J. Smith the third.
So, what is the next step with the podcast? Actually, I'm going to ask a different question.
Yeah.
What was the idea behind creativity theory, and how has that changed? If it's changed at all since you started.
Well, creativity theory was me combining two things that were going on with myself. Problem number one was during my high school years, I had a brand or fake production company called MH Productions. And then when I went to college, I decided to stop being MH Productions and start being Slam Dunk Studios. And then by the time I finished college, like 5 years of that. Sorry, burping. Sushi burps. Genki. You didn't have Genki today, did you, dude?
Nope.
I bet you got 100 chaos points you can spend by now. Get you some Genki, dude.
You know what's funny is I just don't even want to anymore.
All right, dude. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see then.
We'll see.
Slam Dunk Studios.
Slam Dunk Studios, yes. And so then I was just kind of tired of that name, and like if I did anything those years, it probably was just going under Cameron Smith, and then so I had this kind of pressure building up. This idea has been in my head of like I should have a production company again and start like maybe doing a side hustle where I produce people's like photo and video projects if I can be helpful in that medium. And so that was problem number one, was I wanted to come up with a new brand that would serve that purpose. But then also I was having this sort of philosophical, psychological construction going on from years 2017 to now, really, that, and it will continue. I'm not saying we're done now, but, fuck. Did I just lose my train of thought? Oh my God. I was talking about, do you remember
the two?
Oh no.
The two.
You sure you're not high, dude?
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. Dude, this is going to be embarrassing for both of us.
Yeah. That's what we do. You're talking about the two problems you have.
Yeah, that was problem number one. Right. And problem number one can be summarized as, fuck me, dude.
Just
needing a brand to operate on to have a company. The other thing was, I was working on like building pretty much a philosophy in my head and like, okay, what do I really like feel is true? I think it's the idea first entered my head that like, I only think I know what I believe, or I only think I understand what I believe, but I might not actually really understand what I believe. I probably need to pay attention and figure out what I actually believe. And I think that's like long term, like it's gonna take time to like watch yourself and pay attention to that, to like really get a handle on what that means. And I'm gonna kill you. This is so embarrassing, but this is a good example to show the world why I can't keep doing this shit. Why you got to be like you are. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're the better guy, dude. I'll admit that. You're the better one of us.
What do you mean by better?
I think the vision I described, that's the one thing we do agree on. Both of us agree on that. And I think the thing that I have to accept, as fun as it is being me, as neurochemically rich it is over here immediately. If you lead for at least a significant amount of time without me getting in the way, I think that vision that we both agree on will be better off being closer to than if you let me keep driving.
And so you've built yourself a fun little game to get yourself out on the ladder of this
boy,
hole.
now we're getting into this. Okay. And here's the thing. I might ask you to cut this out later because I might want to keep the details of this relatively secret, because here's the idea. I think if I were to turn this into an app where, like, I won't get into the details of what my vision for the app, but I have a pretty in-depth vision on what it could be. And it lets you keep track of this thing, and it's organized in a way where it's really fun and like sends you notification stuff. If you want, you can customize it as much as you want it to be involved with you or whatever. And you can assign different chaos symbols to whatever things you want to charge. And you can like there's like settings where it's like there's easy mode, medium mode, hard mode, and it changes the whole like economy of the system.
Well,
but
explain what it is.
Yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right, so I'm doing this thing because clearly I have a problem with wanting to, smoke weed, sometimes drink. That's not really a problem for me, but sometimes I like it, and I wish I didn't do it ever. Eat food that I know is not good for me from the perspective of health. And also creates things like fatigue and brain fog when I eat. Like they're just disruptive, and they bring me closer to being overweight rather than further away from being overweight. Lots of things. Let's see. Jizzing. That's one. Just shooting wads all the time. Man, that's fun. But yeah, you gotta knock that off, or I gotta knock that off. Both of us. We gotta work together to knock this off. I hope you knocked it off, dude. I hope you got a big wad building up in there over there. Whenever you get around to editing this. Let's see you in the booth there, brother. What about that? Was that a funny bit?
Yeah, it's funny.
Sorry to make you laugh. I'm so self-conscious. All right. You can put me back on track if...
You're explaining your vices.
Oh, yeah, I was explaining the vices. I got caffeine. Oh, I didn't say caffeine. Caffeine's the other one. It's those 5 things.
And eliminating those things. Those things are standing between you and...
Those things I feel like are distractions, essentially. And they're distractions that I think have a ripple effect of significant magnitude. If that...
But you still think that they can be useful when prescribed under a very metered manner, right? You should explain the game.
Okay. Yeah.
With the points and...
Yeah, dude. This is I promise I'm not like pussing out because I don't want people to take my app. I knew I'd get you with that one, dude.
Yeah.
I knew I'd get you with that shit.
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about that. I'm just so high. I'm actually genuinely having a hard time like thinking about it in a cohesive way. It's like, oh, this is a beautiful, clear way to explain it, and I'm having a hard time improvising it right now. Okay, so let me try to just be real simple and straightforward and to the point about it. Let me attempt to do that.
We don't have to talk about it.
No, I'm not afraid to talk about it. Let me make
Sounds
that
like you're afraid.
I'm not afraid to talk about it.
If you want to stay down in your hole, that's fine.
Let me just try one more time, see what I can do. And if I can't do it, I'll bow out and then we'll skip it. Okay? Okay. Essentially, I am gamifying my addictions in relation to my to-do list. So I'm taking my to-do list, which I already have and already use. I have like a to-do list in my notes app on my phone. And now, rather than it just being bullet points that I check in when they're done, now these bullet points have point values associated with them. And so I collect these points and I refer to them as CP, chaos points. So as I collect CP, there are 5 forms of chaos, all that align with those 5 vices I was talking about. So real quick, marijuana, caffeine, alcohol, masturbation, and dietary cheating. So there's a chaos for all those. And when I said masturbation, it's ejaculation entirely. So even sex. If I'm going to have sex and ejaculate, I have to spend a chaos X point. Now, these things have different values. That's why they're separated. So the cheapest one is the food. That's 100 chaos points. Next up, we got caffeine. It's 200 points. Then we got alcohol. That's 300 points. Marijuana, 500 points. And ejaculation is 1,000 points. And then there's more chaos types. There's 3 more. There's chaos 1, chaos 7, and chaos 30. These are referring to days. So chaos 1, that's 24 hours of you can do whatever you want. I think that was worth 5,000. And then chaos 7, that's a week. That I believe was 20,000, 30,000, 30,000. Yeah, 30,000. And then chaos 30, that's a month. That is 50,000. Yes.
Well, like, for example, how much CP would completing a podcast earn you?
You get 50 points for completing the edit itself. And then you get an additional 10 points for the 5 other steps of what it means to finish a podcast. So that would be cutting the clips, creating the thumbnails, writing the description, generating the time codes, and uploading. So 10 points for each of those things. So 100 points total. And you can get an additional 50 bonus points if you cut and subtitle at least 5 reels. So 150 points if I go all out and do that. 100 points if I at least just get it edited and out.
It's a good benchmark.
Yeah. Also, every week that goes by where chaos points are not spent. Why are you having me explain this and not you? You could do it so much better. You know it. This is fucking mean to have me on here having this version of you.
Well, you haven't done it yet.
That's true.
So you don't know if it works.
Right. So, yeah. It's weird thinking about you being ahead in time.
No, it's not.
I mean,
I could be in parallel time.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe something weird's going on here.
I think something weird is definitely going on here.
Okay, if you say so. What were we talking about? I think I said quite a bit. Oh, so I was talking about the multiplier.
Yes, the multiplier. Mm-hmm.
Every week that goes by where no chaos points are spent, I get a 100-point bonus. And then each compounding week that the streak continues, an additional 100 points from the previous week is added. So if it's week 1, it's 100 points. If it's week 3, it's 300 points. If it's week 37, it's 3,700 points. You get the picture. And every time you go an entire year where you don't spend any chaos points, on the date that year occurs, it's officially 1 year. It's your chaos anniversary. I just made that up just now. Don't take that from me. If you're going to steal my app, the chaos anniversary is mine. You can have the app, but chaos anniversary is mine. Fucking, oh man, stay away from chaos anniversary. Whenever that happens, all the points you have, all your CP is doubled. Yeah. So there's a lot of little rules in the system that encourage long streaks. But we'll see how it goes. You know? I feel pretty confident about this. How are you feeling? Do you think this will work?
I think it has the potential to work. Yeah. But I think it's probably more up to you.
Yeah, I agree.
To make it work.
I have to cooperate.
Yeah. Which you've done before.
Yeah. We work good together when we're grooving, you know? This has been fun, by the way. I was nervous about talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the time.
Dude, I had fun. How long did we go? 55 minutes. This would be the shortest podcast. Do you want to do it? Do you want to break the record of shortest podcast?
I guess that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense.
All right. Well, got anything else for me?
Well,
Running out
okay.
of steam, aren't you? Sure you want to keep doing this?
So I've noticed that a lot of your podcast guests are white males. Is that intentional?
Of course it is. I am racist and sexist, dude. Good Lord. I mean, do you watch my comedy? I'm exactly who I am on stage. Oh my God. Okay, now I'm going to be serious. It's something that I'm aware of and that I have noticed myself. But, I think the reality of it is the people I'm mostly inviting on the podcast are predominantly comedian friends of mine. And I feel like a lot of those guys I'm friends with are white men. And I have some black comedian friends, and I just feel uncomfortable talking about this, honestly, dude. Maybe, are we racist? Are we racist, dude?
Yeah, I mean, this does not look good.
I don't think so. I think I'm just high and I'm paranoid. But I definitely, here's what I'll say. I think racism is morally wrong, and I don't feel like I'm genuinely racist. Caveat. I do think racist humor, like racist jokes, like are hilarious I think one's directed at white people of any color, like it's all funny to me. And so, and not every joke that is about race is funny. It's got to be a good joke. It's just that because a good joke's a good joke, essentially, is my philosophy. And I don't think that there's a subject that you can't make a good joke out of. That's to the point. What I feel like is the fundamental truth of humor. Big rabbit hole.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying who you surround yourself with says a lot about you.
Yeah. Damn, dude.
What's up with these modeling shoots? Do those cost CP?
This costs CP. honestly, dude, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I don't think I even want to do this anymore.
You're done.
I say that. I don't know why I'm even saying that.
Do you even want to be doing this right now? This podcast?
Oh my God, dude. You're embarrassing me, dude. You're embarrassing me right now. You're like asking me shit that I do not know how to navigate. But see, this is why we do this, because we have to prepare. Because
Well, that's a weird way to look at it. We have to prepare for what?
we have to prepare. Okay.
For what?
When we
Public comment?
yes, we're gonna make it big. Trust us. Trust me. Maybe I'm the only one who believes it and you don't, but you're the only one that can get it done. What if that's the curse?
Yeah.
Kind of feels like you don't believe in it as much as I do.
I guess I'm just surprised that you haven't thought about it.
Haven't thought about it.
It doesn't seem like it.
No, okay, here's the truth. I definitely feel like I'm performing a little bit right now, because it's like, all right, you're asking me public opinion on being racist, and also you're me. Like, it's hard to take this interview entirely seriously, because it's literally you interviewing you.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
But you, sober you, interviewing high you. That's crazy.
That checks out. Yeah. These are the thoughts you don't confront, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like, and the reason why I call it chaos at all is because, like I said earlier, I think I'm funnier than you. I feel like when you are intentionally going down a path that's closer to like devil and hell, and like doing damage to your body for the sake of neurochemical pleasure, like and like, you know, the abstraction of alcohol is like you're drinking poison to do a thing to your body that makes you like be like, this is nice. It's a little more orgasmic, but it's a particular form of that.
Right.
And fuck, dude, no way. We should have tapped out when we were going. Do you remember what I was talking about?
You were talking about how you're being performative right now.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about how I'm being performative. Yeah, I think that,
Which always helps a performance, by the way.
yes. I'm running out of water, and we're going to be in big trouble when that happens. I'm going to get some out of your Yeti, dude.
Yeah, no, we can't cross Yetis.
All right, we won't cross Yetis. Pathetic, right?
Yeah.
Pathetic. It's hard to watch.
Well, it's a tall mountain to climb, and it's not always fun.
Yeah, you sure do keep it together better than I do.
Yep. Sure do.
But, you know something, I have to tell you something talk about something that we did the other night that I think is funny. You know, sometimes people will say something to you and it sticks with you for a long, like you just happen to think about it from time to time. That one person said that to me, and you think about just little simple words. And then it's like years later, after meditating on it, not even know why it keeps coming back. Finally, it hits you of like, oh, wow, that's so true. That was such a sharp criticism. That was so like, I've only known you for this long, and here's what I can tell you. And it's so on the nose. The girl I made the Fat Butts and Whole Foods music video, Holly. You know her. We got a mug.
Yeah. We got a mug. Shark's tooth mug.
We got a mug with a shark's tooth downstairs.
A lot of compliments on that mug.
Beautiful mug.
Love that mug.
Anyway, love Holly. We love Holly. Cut this part out. Don't let her see this. Makes you look weak. She said to me at one point, she says very plainly, "You talk too much." Said that to me like maybe a year ago. And then it was just the other night, I was like, damn, dude. That's so true. I talk way too much. I talk way too much. And you know that.
Started a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's been part of this break, is kind of like there was with all the benefits of doing this that we found, all the great things that have come of it. There's also a down curve. There's certain things it's like, wow, this is just a lot of time I could be using in a way that I deem a little more productive. Or like, you know, there's certain creative projects I would much rather be dedicating 12 hours a week towards. I do not want to do this amount of work weekly for this. I don't love this like that. I like this. I want to continue doing this, but I can't keep doing it like this. I've got to make this when I can, when I feel like it. And, you know, that might be real slow for now. And then maybe I get to a point in my life where I can easily afford to outsource all that work that I don't want to do beyond this point of having the conversation. I mean, like, I don't see anything beyond this as like an artistic endeavor that I want to suck my time away. I'd rather pay people to do that. If I ever get to a point where I can afford to do that, that would be nice. Otherwise, I do like continuing to do this. It's just probably going to be inconsistent for the time being. That's what I think.
Feels like a good place to end it.
Yeah. Very powerful. Very smart choice. You're a smart boy.
You're a smart boy.
Stop it. We're smart boys.
Yeah. I'm smarter though.
I don't know. I don't know if you even agree with that. Sometimes you got to ask me for advice. Sometimes I know something you don't. Sometimes I got something you ought to listen to. You know that.
It's hard to know what to listen to.
That's why you can't let me go.
Well, just gamified you.
Yep. Let the games begin.
Yes. Let the games begin.
Right. Well, hey, Cam, thanks for having me on. It's, you know, this turned out to be a pretty good conversation. I would really like it if you would cut out the part about where you were asking me about the racism and the white guests and stuff. Okay? So, may I have your word?
I'll see what I can do.
I suppose it's in God's hands now. Well, may Christ be with you, my brother. Thanks again for having me.
And also with you.
Love you.
Love you too.